Hurry, Anita. I feared that Potton might come up from the hull at any moment and stop us. The duty man over us gazed down, his huge head and shoulders blocking the small signal room window. Brodo called up in Martian, telling him to let us come. He scowled, but when we reached the trap in the room floor grid, we found him standing aside to admit us. I flung a swift glance around. It was a metallic cubby, not much over 15 feet square, with an 8-foot arched ceiling. There were instrument panels. The rangefinder for the giant projector was here, its telescope with the trajectory apparatus and the firing switch were unmistakable. And the signaling apparatus was here. Not a Martian set, but a fully powerful Bot's ultraviolet sender with its attendant receiving mirrors. The plane Terra had used the Bot's system, so I was thoroughly familiar with it. I saw too, what seemed to be weapons, a row of small fragile glass globes, hanging on clips along the wall, bombs, each the size of a man's fist. And a broad belt with bombs in its padded compartments. My heart was pounding as my first quick glance took in these details. I saw also that the room had 4 small oval window openings. They were breast high above the floor. From the deck below I knew that the angle of vision was such that the men down there could not see into this room except to glimpse its upper portion near the ceiling. And the helio set was banked on a low table near the floor. In a corner of the room a small ladder led through a ceiling trap to the cubby roof. This upper trap was open. 4 feet above the room's roof was the arch of the dome, with the entrance to the exit lock directly above us. The weapons and the belt of bombs were near the ascending ladder, evidently placed here as equipment for use from the top of the dome. I turned to the solitary duty man. I must gain his confidence at once. Anita had laid her helmet aside. She spoke first. "We were with Set Miko," she said smilingly, "in the wreck of the plane Terra. You heard of it? We know where the treasure is." This duty man was a full 7 feet tall, and the most heavy-set Martian I had ever seen. A tremendous, beetle-browed, scowling fellow. He stood with hands on his hips, his leather-garbed legs spread wide, and as I confronted him, I felt like a child. He was silent, glaring down at me as I drew his attention from Anita. "You speak English?" I asked. "We are not skilled with Martian." I wondered if at the next time of sleep this fellow would be on duty here. I hoped not. It would not be easy to trick him and find an opportunity to flash a signal. But that task was some hours away as yet. I would worry about it when the time came. Just now I was concerned with Miko and his little band, who at any moment might arrive in sight. If we could persuade this duty man to turn the projector on them. He answered me in ready English. "You are the man Greg Haljan? And this is the sister of George Prince. What do you want up here?" "I am a navigator. Brodo wants me to pilot the ship when we advance to attack Grantline." "This is not the control room." "No, I know it isn't." I put my helmet carefully on the floor beside Anita's. I straightened to find the brigand gazing at her. He did not speak, he was still scowling. But in the dim blue glow of the cubby, I caught the look in his eyes. I said hastily, "Grantline knows your ship has landed here on Archimedes. His camp is off there on the Mare Imbrium. He sent up a signal, you saw it, didn't you, just before Miss Prince and I came aboard. He was trying to pretend he was your Earth party, Nico and Coniston." "Why?" The fellow turned his scowl on me, but Anita brought his gaze back to her. She put in quickly. "Grantline, as brother always said, has no great cunning. I believe now he plans to creep up on us unawares, by pretending that he is Miko. If he does that, I said, we will turn this electronic projector on him and his party and annihilate them. You have its firing mechanism here. Who told you so? He shot at me. I gestured. I see it here. It's obvious, I'm skilled at trajectory firing. If Grantline appears down there now, I'll help you. Is it connected? Anita demanded boldly. Yes, he said. You have on your Erentz suits. Are you going to the dome roof? Then go. But that was what we did not want to do. Anita's glance seemed to tell me to let her handle this. I turned toward one of the cubby windows. She said sweetly, "Are you in charge of this room? Show me how the projector is operated. I know it will be invincible against the Grantline camp." I had my back to them for a moment. Through the breast-high oval I could see down across the deck space and out through the side dome windows. And my heart suddenly leaped into my throat. It seemed that down there in the earth-lit shadows, where the spreading base of the giant crater joined the plains, a light was bobbing. I gazed, stricken. Miko's lights? Was he advancing, preparing to signal? I tried to gauge the distance. It was not over 2 miles from here. Or was it not a light at all? With the naked eye, I could not be sure. Perhaps there was a telescope finder here in the cubby. I was subconsciously aware of the voices of Anita and the duty man behind me. Then abruptly I heard Anita's low cry. I whirled around. The giant Martian had gathered her into his huge arms, his heavy jowled gray face, with a leering grin, close to hers. He saw me coming. He held her with one arm. His other flung at me, caught me, knocked me backward. He rasped. "Get out of here. Go up to the dome." Anita was silently struggling with her little hands at his thick throat. His blow flung me against a settle. But I held my feet. I was partly behind him. I leaped again, and as he tried to disengage himself from Anita to front me, her clutching fingers impeded him. My projector was in my hand. But in that second as I leaped, I had the sense to realize I should not fire it because its noise would alarm the ship. I grasped its barrel, reached upward and struck with its heavy metal butt. The blow caught the Martian on the skull, and simultaneously my body struck him. We went down together, falling partly upon Anita. But the giant had not cried out, and as I gripped him now, I felt his body go limp. I lay panting. Anita squirmed silently from under us. Blood from the giant's head was welling out, hot and sticky against my face as I lay sprawled on him. I cast him off. He was dead, his fragile Martian skull split open by my blow. There had been no alarm. The slight noise we made had not been heard down on the busy deck. Anita and I crouched by the floor. From the deck all this part of the room could not be seen. Dead. Oh, Greg. It forced our hand. I could not wait now for Miko to come. But I could flash the Earth signal now, and then we would have to make our run to escape. Then I remembered that light down by the base. I kept Anita out of sight down on the floor and went cautiously to a window. The deck was in turmoil with brigands moving about excitedly. Not because of what had happened in our tower signal room, they were unaware of that. Miko's signals were showing. I could see them now plainly, down at the crater base. A group of handlights and small waving heliobeam. And they were being answered from the ship. Potton was on the deck, a babel of voices, above which his rose with roars of command. At one of the dome windows a brigand with a hand search beam was sending its answering light. And I saw that Potton was working over a deck telescope finder. It had all come so suddenly that I was stunned. But I did not wait to read the signals. I swung back at Anita, who stared helplessly at me. "It's Miko. And they are answering him. Get your helmet, I'll try firing the projector." Or would I instead try and send a brief flash signal to Earth? There would be no time to do both, we must escape out of here. The route up through the dome was the only feasible one now. This range mechanism of the projector was reasonably familiar, and I felt that I could operate it. The rangefinder and the switch were on a ledge at one of the windows. I rushed to it. As I swung the telescope, training it down on Miko's lights, I could see the huge projector on the deck swinging similarly. Its movement surprised the men who were attending it. One of them called up to me, but I ignored him. Then Potton looked up and saw me. He shouted in Martian at the duty man, whom he doubtless thought was behind me, "Be ready. We may fire on them. I'll give you the word." The signals were proceeding. It had only been a moment. I caught something like, "Haljan is imposter." I was aiming the projector. I was aware of Anita at my elbow. I pushed her back. "Put on your helmet." I had the range. I flung the firing switch. At the deck window the giant projector spat its deadly electronic stream. The men down there leaped away from it in surprise. I heard Potton's voice, his shout of protest and anger. But down in the earth glow at the crater base, Miko's lights had not vanished. I had missed. An error in the range? Abruptly I knew it was not that. Miko's lights were still there. His signals still coming. And I noticed now a faint distortion about them, the glow of his little group of handlights faintly distorted and vaguely shot with a greenish cast. Benson curve lights! My thoughts whirled in the few seconds while I stood there at the tower window. Miko had feared he might be summarily fired on. He had gone back to his camp, equipped all his lights with the Benson curve. He was somewhere at the crater base now. But not where I thought I saw him. The Benson curve light changed the path of the light rays traveling from him to me. I could not even approximate his true position. Anita was plucking at me. "Greg, come." "I can't hit him," I gasped. Should I try the flash signal to Earth? Did we dare linger here? I stood another few seconds at the window. I saw Potton down in the confusion of the deck, training a telescope. He had shouted up violently at his duty man here not to fire again. And now he let out a roar. "I can see them! It's Miko! By the Almighty, his giant stature, Brodo, look! That's not an Earthman!" He flung aside his telescope finder. "Disconnect that projector. It's Miko down there. This Haljan is a trickster. Where is he? Braille, you accursed fool. Are Haljan and the girl up there with you?" But the duty man lay in his blood at our feet. I had dropped back from the window. Anita and I crouched for an instant in confusion, fumbling with our helmets. The ship rang with the alarm. And amid the turmoil we could hear the shouts of the infuriated brigands swarming up the tower ladder after us.